I don't think Conan should be on the show. Yeah,
His name's in the title.
contributes less than anybody on the show. I would say. Would you agree with that, Joe?
The only reason that you contribute more is because you talk more than this guy and me.
I have to talk.
And sometimes you talk more than the guests we bring on the show.
Conan's like the showrunner. This show is shaped in his vision. So
first of all the people that say that I talk too much, they're suspended.
It's everyone.
All right, my favorite podcast is the rest of the evening. Conan, what are your thoughts on Elijah or the old Elias possibly the threat in another promotion such as AEW, TNA, or possibly even there in AAA? He seems to be able to get heat with a lot of fans, but can also be very likable. I know Pat McAfee said Elias always said he wanted to be a wrestler even in high school, in which they both attended, so he's a mind for the business. Disco, other than yourself, what do you think is the best dancing gimmick of all time? Lastly, for all three of you, where would you rank these all-time great underrated NBA players since they played when you guys were watching? And here's the 6 names: Vin Baker, Tom Chambers, Terry Cummings, Marcus Johnson, Antoine Jameson, and Glenn Robinson. Well, Glenn Robinson would be number 1 for sure.
Yeah, Tom Chambers was a star in the early 80s.
Yeah, he was just a ball hog, though. He's a team and scored a lot of points.
Jazz, do you mean the Jazz or the Suns?
He was on a lot of good teams.
And you could interchange Terry Cummings, Marcus Johnson, and Antoine Jameson all had similar games. They didn't really score a lot of points. Okay. I would think Glenn Robinson, Tom Chambers, Vin Baker, and the others.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Before I answer the NBA one, which I'm going to put my little twist on it, I would say that the best dancing gimmick besides disco was 2 people. Vince McMahon, when he did that WWE video with all the,
Stand
all
back
the wrestlers where they broke kayfabe.
Right? Yeah.
And honorable mention to Blue Meanie.
Yeah.
This is what I would say, my most underrated guys, okay?
That's not the question.
I don't care. Because
that's what I want to
agree
do
with
too.
you. I agree with you. They bunch up a whole bunch of guys.
I can't do that.
Yeah. So I'm going to name you a couple guys. Chris Mullins, who I loved when he was in St. John's, okay? And he wore number 17, which was Hondo Havlicek's number for the Celtics. I would put Hondo Havlicek on that team too. I don't think.
What did they call Mullen, Hardaway, and Mitch Redmond?
TMC, because of the initial of Mitch Redmond, Chris Mullins, and Hardaway, Tim Hardaway. And that was named, believe it or not, after Run DMC. And you know what? I'd put Richmond and Hardaway on that.
Richmond he's the only guy Jordan says that he would kind of, be intimidated by if Jordan knows how to be intimidated. He was always like working against Richmond was like, that was cool for him because he knew he was going to get a game,
And I'm going to throw in one more name, Adrian Dantley, who played at the high school powerhouse, the Martha out of Maryland. And he played for Notre Dame when he beat John Wooden's team, led by one of my favorite players of all time. Too bad when he played with the Celtics, he was hurt, but he still won 6th Man of the Year. Bill Walton and Jamal Wilkes, they broke an 88-game winning streak. And I think it was like by 1 point, too.
All right, nobody.
I got three. All right. Vernon Maxwell.
We're on a time constraint this week.
Oh, it'll be quick. And plus I want to show you guys I know a little bit about sports. Vernon Maxwell, right? Eric Snow, who was the point guard when the Sixers went to the championship against the Lakers.
Yeah, I would not put him as one of the most underrated players.
Just great defensive player, and as a point guard was
a lot of guys. You could put the glove, Gary Payton in that list.
Well, yeah, Payton, way ahead of Snow. And then you got Theo Ratliff. Do you guys remember Theo Ratliff?
Yeah, you also played for the 76ers.
Yeah.
I'm going to kazoo that because you picked 2 guys that played for 76ers. You don't have much knowledge of other teams.
Well, then I would say Steve Kerr on the Bulls.
All right, the next one's from Jason. Oh, by the way, when you comment on Elijah, Elias, whatever.
Yeah, bro. No, I'm just not hating, just stating. I'm afraid that if you went to AEW, so many other guys have gone there that they haven't known what to do. He'd probably get lost in the shuffle, and he'd be part of somebody's faction. I think in TNA you have a lot more creativity.
Do either of you guys have any,
creativity, input? You know what I'm saying?
It's been a while since he was released. Do you guys have any idea why? Have you heard anything?
I just have a great idea. And I don't want to time it, but I just thought this. What if there was a faction, and the name of the faction was Faction, and it was literally just like like 6 people they were doing absolutely nothing with,
Right.
and you just threw them all together.
Right.
Well, they had that with the B team.
No, listen. But here's
Yeah.
the gimmick, okay? They're constantly, all their vignettes are shot. They're in a traveling van, right? The 6 and like that, and all their conversations are they're trying to figure out like where they want like this, like one show is where we going to go eat, and they drive around and like, bro, the show is going on throughout the show. You show like you keep going back to vignette. They can't decide where to eat, and then they have to like by the end of the show they have to stop and get gas, and that's like they have nothing in common with each other. Like all the vignettes are like why are we like they're sitting there just nobody's talking to each other and there's like dead silence for like 2 minutes while they're sitting there. It's like, what do you think about that for a gimmick? And it's called, the name of the faction is called Faction.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. But
Well,
did they do that with 3 people? When it was like Jinder Mahal, the
3-man
Oh, yeah,
band.
right, 3-man band, yeah. And Drew McIntyre. When he was part
And then, and then the B team, and then NWO Black and White when Stevie Ray and Vincent and Norton were in there, and Horace, they were like thrown together because they were the leftovers from the NWO, and they had funny vignettes like that.
I like Drew McIntyre's character now in Raw. He's making it very vocal that he prays for bad things to happen to people.
That was great. He's been great.
I like when Barrett did that.
That's funny stuff, yeah.
Remember when he was Bad News Barrett, DI? You had to like,
I'm
have
afraid
like that,
I've got some bad news. So I thought that gimmick was hysterical.
Yeah.
Me and Mad used to call up each other saying, I'm afraid I've got some bad. Next is from Jason Turpin, some is Ronnie Coleman. Hey guys, Brock Lesnar's been taking some hits in the media recently by the allegations of Vince lawsuit. However, his ego may have taken bigger hit by recent comments from bodybuilder Ronnie Coleman. The 8-time Mr. Olympia winner was on a podcast and the host brought up several wrestlers asked Ronnie if they were enhanced physique. Coleman said, Cena the Rocks definitely were put over their bodies. But when asked about Brock Lesnar, Coleman said he had to be natty. Ronnie said Brock had lack of muscle definition all over his body, and Brock's physique looks impressive to me, but I've never penned Diana Ball and all the boys from your era. What do you guys think about Brock's physique and Coleman's comments? Thanks, that's from Jason Turpin. Let's red card Jason Turpin for accusing everybody of doing steroids without evidence. Okay,
that's a serious allegation.
Yeah, red card him. And,
I got him.
Brock?
Well, I have no problem saying Cena and Rock definitely have either. I actually saw Ronnie Coleman because I used to be a big fan of bodybuilding back in the day. And I actually saw him. We were at in Atlanta, Georgia. We were at a buffet and Lex Luger was there. And they stood next to each other. And if you wouldn't have known them, you would have thought Luger was more muscular because he was taller. He was really wide. But if Coleman would have ripped off his shirt, he would have destroyed him. But I actually met Ronnie in person. He was very, very impressive. Brock is kind of weird because I remember seeing him in college. He wasn't that, he was still kind of big, but he kind of looked like Sammy Sosa. He kind of looked like Sammy Sosa before the steroids and after. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he's got that farm strength.
Right. One thing is farm strength. Right. One thing is, dude. I mean, look at pictures of him in his last year. Well,
here's the thing: when you grow up on the farm, you're doing chores that require you lifting heavier things than the normal person at a very young age.
Yeah,
a very young.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen.
No. But I'm
kind of suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brock's gotten popped though. Brock failed a test in UFC and he got arrested back in the day for having stuff. So I don't think he was all the way clean forever.
Well, they're not.
Yeah, they're part-time. Bro, he just gained too much mass. I know he's a farm boy and all that, but he had like a wrestler's look, not a farm boy look.
All right. Next up, Kevin Donald, some of his Waller comments. Grayson and Waller recently did a press interview burying the Cody versus Roman 2 match taking the place of Rock versus Roman. He basically said what most people thought. The fans wanted Rock versus Roman for so long that when it finally happened, they got so triggered over it to the point they threatened to Rock's daughter, who goes by Ava Raid in NXT. He said that more or less it's like letting badly behaved children get their own way. Only these are grown adults being such losers. I know I've covered this topic a million times. If you think that WWE doing what the fans want in any issue is a mistake in the long run. I mean, AEW did that for years, and now they're doing it so badly they have to pay people like Conrad Thompson to endlessly show for them on his podcast. I will red card Kevin Donald.
You're on fire today.
Well, he's accusing Conrad Thompson being a paid shill for AEW. And it's not.
Yeah, I think Conrad.
Yeah, that's
He said he does not do that. So you have to prove that, Kevin Donnelly. You either have to retract your comment in the next email
or show proof.
Another-
Here's the second thing.
Yeah.
Here's the two things about Conrad, bro. He's very successful.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's good at
1000%.
the job. That's the
Yeah.
thing. That,
Great at
And he's a
job.
real estate agent. That's
Right.
where he made his money.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
And so, and
Here's
the other,
Grace. Here's Grayson's comments. So
the other thing, I think
Yeah.
that the other thing is, he's a big fan, no different than a Harry Ruiz of AEW.
All right.
Here's Grayson's comments on this. Was an interview with Kenny McIntosh from Inside the Ropes. I've never in my life seen so many people. Kenny McIntosh from Inside the Ropes. He's a big guy in England. He brings the guys over for the Q&As and stuff.
Well, that's not
All
okay. To Joe.
You don't know that.
Not ever use the word big. Okay,
In
when
this
you're referencing a guy that
world.
runs the fan conventions at the wrestling shows. Right.
All right. So Grayson says, I have never in my life seen so many people who can barely read and write caring about a story. It absolutely boggles my mind. A few months ago, everyone was saying, oh, Rock, come back. How long have they wanted The Rock versus Roman? People have been begging for it for years. Then they get it, and now they're complaining about it. It just shows in a way how stupid these fans are. They want this, but then they say, oh, we don't want it. Now we want it here. It's like, just shut up.
I like.
kinda like
Basically,
What do you think about
he
his comment?
Huh?
I like his comment. I like.
Yeah, hey, and I wonder if he gets any heat for that, but he's 100% correct, and I stated as such 2 weeks ago. I would not have blinked. I would have had Rock and Roman. Cody's been a monster. He's developed a huge following. He can get it later.
Well, plus two, they can still tell. There's still some storytelling to generate
done.
interest in this stuff.
Right.
But you know that. So let's where we give him some time. Next on Donald Willings, subject is Gallows and Anderson. One of the cooler moments of the close lockdown era was when AJ Styles was featured with Judgment Day and Gallows and Anderson made the big return to WWE to back AJ up, and they even worked a great six-man tag match at the Saudi show. Sadly, AJ Styles broke his ankle leg really badly. Missed like 5 to 6 months, and during the entire time, Gallows and Anderson weren't used. Then, since AJ Styles would come back, he's in the weird angle where he keeps arguing with them backstage. He even slapped Anderson on the latest SmackDown, and it really feels like a lot of waste of time of two really great talents. What do you guys think is going on here with this booking? Kind of feels a little AEW-ish booking that they were resized so they could be a surprise for Raw, and that was the end of the thought process. I mean, I don't know. Do you like?
That's just going on for years.
I just feel like they've never really trusted or invested in them like they should. And he says here something like, yeah, what did they bring him back for, to bury him again? Maybe AJ said, hey, can you bring my boys back? And he's got enough juice to do that. And maybe him getting slapped might have AJ team up with somebody else against them. So
Yeah, and plus, you know what? Too, I wasn't a fan of this, but I saw enough of clips back then. That when they were in the Bullet Club was like a very like brash, like Stone Coldish type of faction. Like they would come in the media scrums. Japan's the first people that do, like they do the shoot media scrums, right?
Right.
But they would come in the scrums and they'd be like drinking beer.
Right.
Cursing.
You know,
yeah.
Right. So that's kind of like, so like their whole gimmick or like their whole personality is kind of neutered in WWE. They're not like a bunch of beer drinking guys that like to fight. They're just like, they're like, oh, we all wrestle together. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, they were kind of an offshoot of the NWA Japan
Right.
style, because they would even do the Too Sweet.
Yeah.
And I remember like once they had Jeff Jarrett, they're like an honorary, Bullet
him and
Club
D'Amore.
guy. And then they had another one where I remember they would have like a hot chick, which you really didn't see Japanese guys doing that. And then one time I remember Gallows came with his wife as a valet, Amber O'Neal. So they're always doing like stuff that the other guys weren't doing, which made them cool.
They could literally keep that faction together. And the dynamic of AJ being a straight edge guy and those two guys drinking one of the
Right, being the
beer up the
partiers,
edge,
right.
like would be a
great.
pretty fun dynamic to work with.
Right.
And they never went there any of that character development.
Yeah.
And I thought, so I don't know. Like that, I think those guys are far more talented than the WWE brass think they are. So.
Or AEW. Remember, they popped up in AEW when they were in
Yeah.
TNA. They
Right.
haven't been. They were hot as
Able to do it, get them over.
right.
You know, let them do that. It's entertaining. They look like a couple beer drinking redneck guys that like to fight. So I know Stone Cold did that, but that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this, like, you know, they can still have two characters that like to do that too. You know, so